So to do that, to be able to reveal to children what their behavior choices are, here's at some point before discipline what you want to say. And I'm going to give you a couple of sentences that you can just kind of start with as formulas, and then you can just kind of make them your own, make them authentic for you. At some point before children do misbehave, you want to let them know what their behavior choices are. So you would say something, the formula is, if you, whatever the negative behavior is, this negative thing could happen. It's your reason or your concern why you wouldn't want them to do that. Usually this relates to safety, health, rights, property, rules, values, those kinds of things. So to just kind of keep going with this riding the bike in the street situation, to kind of use that as an example, the parent might say, if you ride your bike in the street, you could get hit by a car. So you need to, this is the second part, we need to let them know what their positive behavior choice is. It's easy, and we frequently will say what we don't want kids to do, but we've got to remember to tell children what we want them to do, and if possible, why. So you need to ride your bike on the sidewalk so you can stay safe. So this doesn't, you don't say this as they're in the street. You'd say this at some point as they're first getting their bike so that they understand what their choices are. This is not revealing discipline. This is simply telling them what their behavior choices are and why they would want to choose or not choose each one. When it comes time to discipline, then there's some new language. Now, before we go through what's on the screen there, I'm going to ask the audience again. A lot of times, let's take the bike in the street situation. If a child rode their bike in the street, most parents would say, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm lying, most parents would say, if you ride your bike in the street, I'm going to take your bike away. Right? Okay, so most parents would probably say that. So Sherry, this child, she just is not behaving today. Sherry rides her bike in the street, and so I take away her bike, and when I take the bike away, who's she going to be mad at? Me, because I took her bike away. So while she's thinking about her bike being away, who's she mad at? You. Me. Who's the bad guy? You. Me. And who made me the bad guy? You. I did. How did I make myself the bad guy? I set myself up, didn't I? Because I said I was going to take the bike away from her. So look at just a couple of really small language changes, and we're going to take a look at this, and just a few small language changes can dramatically change the meaning and the lesson that kids get from the discipline. So take a look if you want. You can follow along. If you choose to ride your bike in the street. Now, why do you think I say choose to? What do I want to emphasize? It's her choice. If you choose to ride your bike in the street, I'll know you've decided, emphasizing again whose choice it is, hers. I'll know you've decided to, and instead of saying I'll take the bike away, I'm going to say I'll know you've decided to give it up. So that it's her choice whether it goes away or not based on her behavior decision. And then I say at the end until, and I tell her when she will have the opportunity to get her bike back. This is a good example of the reasonable time. So let's say she rode her bike in the street before dinner, then it would be, if you choose to ride your bike in the street, I'll know you decided to put your bike up until after dinner. Okay? And don't worry, I'm going to come back and we're going to play out a couple different scenarios. Okay? But that's where you can start with that. If children start to, well, and let me just ask. So in that situation, so I say, Sherry, if you choose to ride your bike in the street, I know you decided to put it away until after dinner. She rides her bike in the street, and I say, okay, I can see that you've decided to put your bike away. So the bike goes away. We'll play it out that way first. The bike goes away. And who might Sherry be mad at? Is she going to be more likely to be mad at me or at herself? Okay, now she can try to blame me, right? She can try. And if she says, you took my bike away, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, I didn't take it away. You chose to give it up when you chose to ride your bike in the street. So she can try to put that on me, but I gave her the option ahead of time that she had another option that she could choose. So am I the bad guy? No. When she's realizing that her bike is gone, what's she thinking more about? What she needs to do to keep it, or just that I was a meanie and took it away? hopefully, because I've not had to be set up as the bad guy, hopefully she's going to be thinking more about, okay, you know, I kind of messed up. I had a choice. I didn't have to do that, and I knew what was going to happen, but I did it anyway. So hopefully that lesson is real fresh in her mind. And if she can get the bike back after dinner, then we can get an agreement for, okay, Sherry, where are you going to ride that bike? We get an agreement she's going to keep it on the sidewalk where she can be safe. If it doesn't quite go that smooth and kids still freak out, no, I don't want the bike to go away, okay. They're freaking out, then you use the last sentence on here that I call the freak out phrase. That's what you say if kids are freaking out, or after, and that's you remind them you'll have another chance. You'll have another chance after dinner to show me you can keep your bike on the sidewalk. The last thing we say to children as they head off to experience discipline is what they're going to remember the most. So the last thing I said is the behavior I want to see. It's the behavior I want her to choose. Okay? Make sense? Okay. So let's go through a couple of discipline tools, some options that you've got for discipline. Just while we're on this, the topic of the riding the bike in the street, let's just play it out one other way. Let's say I say, Sherry, I see you've ridden your bike in the street. I see you decided to put it up until after dinner. And she says, no, I'm not putting my bike away. Now, first of all, safety, let me just back up a bit. Safety trumps all. We're not having this conversation in the street. Okay? I mean, she comes in, we're on the sidewalk having the conversation. So it's not like, I'm going, Sherry, as she's riding her bike in the street. If I need to, I'm going to escort the bike onto the sidewalk to say all this. So I've introduced it, and she says, no, I don't want to put the bike up. So now the focus of the choice shifts. First it was, is she going to have the bike or not? And when she chose to ride her bike in the street, she decided to give up the bike. That's been decided. The bike is going up. That's not for discussion. The new choice could be who puts it up. So the new choice that I can then present to Sherry is, if you put the bike away yourself, you'll have another chance after dinner to show me you can ride it safely on the sidewalk. If you choose not to do that and I have to put it away, then I know you don't want to ride your bike again until tomorrow. So anytime children are accepting responsibility and they're being held accountable, then it's reasonable. It's just a brief period of time so they can show you they've learned and they have the opportunity to do it again. If they put the ball in my court and now they're kind of trying to put me in the bad guy role again, then they're not accepting responsibility. So then the discipline lasts a little bit longer, but it's still within a reasonable range. It's not like she doesn't get it for the whole summer. So it might just be until the next day that she would get the bike back. By presenting choices instead of just, yanking the bike out and smacking and putting the bike up or throwing it away or whatever, yeah, those reactions will certainly drive home the point. But because the focus then gets to be on us and what we're doing to the child, they tend to then focus more on what we're doing to them as opposed to looking inside and saying, okay, what are my choices? And if I want to ride this bike, what do I need to do? So by presenting choices instead of reacting, we hold them accountable for their behavior choices and for experiencing the consequences of whatever choice it is that they make. A few more of the best discipline tools. This next tool is actually the best discipline tool of all time. It is just showing children how to make amends. So if a child spills something, they would clean it up. If they break it, they can fix it or repair it. If they hurt it or something or someone, they can make it feel better. They can show that they feel sorry. You don't necessarily have to force them to say, I'm sorry, because that can lead into a whole other power struggle, and then you get, the yeah, sorry, the really insincere sorry. But encourage them to show that they're sorry. They can get a Band-Aid, they can kiss it, they can help the boo-boo, they can give them a hug. So there's lots of ways that they can show that they're sorry, even though they don't necessarily say those exact words.